Okay, what's up? Good afternoon. Welcome to the stream. Just do a couple little checks. I don't even know where to start really with this story. Horrible story. There's a bunch of stories out there involving kids in these situations. There's even a lot in Texas and in San Antonio, Texas as well. This morning I sat down and I was just looking at stories to cover, and I had a bunch, like a tab full of stuff. And I was just coming across all this kid stuff, and we already covered like this horrible story yesterday. And then I'm already feeling off. You know how you just have a blah day? And then I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, holy crap, this is just horrible. Like, I don't know how people could even conceive to do these types of things, or how somebody could let this type of stuff happen to their child, and how it keeps happening multiple times. And that there's even accounts of neighbors, literally next door neighbors, hearing screaming and stuff like that. But they said that they reported it. There's a big issue in Texas, I guess everywhere. Like, neighbors said they called police. Neighbors said they reported it to CPS. Family said they tried to get custody. Family said they reported it. And yeah, it's disgusting. What I want to do first, and by the way, welcome. Thank you guys for coming. I wasn't even going to stream because I'm like, ugh, I don't like to stream like this. I was just going to take the day off, but let's ride it through. I want to play first this. And so the girl's name is Mercedes Losoya, but we're going to briefly show you some other kids as well so you understand kind of what's going on. But let me just show you like 2-3 minutes of this.
Tonight,
this is the vigil.
This is very special to me and my family. Mercedes was a sweet soul. She was very kind, and she would have loved all the support that our family is giving. I want to thank my cousin Ray, Pastor Ray, and Pastor Laura, my mom, my dad, my sisters. Like I said, we just need all the support right now. We know that justice is on the way to being served, but we just need justice now for Jordan, her sibling, to come home to family. After everything that she's endured, we're trying to get her home.
I know, Vic.
To be with us where she deserves to be. If y'all can help us, we have a hashtag on social media. It's hashtag justice for Mercedes and hashtag bring Jordan home. Thank you once again for everybody's support and love, and God bless y'all.
God bless you.
And it was like a nice visual service. I play music. I can't play the whole thing. I can put the link if you want to check it out.
Where is she at?
Reported once, reported twice.
Here we go.
She wants to be beautiful. She wants to be loved. She wants to be held. And I just keep replaying everything that she must have gone through. And my understanding is that after the trauma, she said, "I love you, Mommy."
Those were her last words.
After everything this little girl went through, her last words were, "I love you, Mommy."
And that
I held my kids a little tighter last night. I can't even imagine how a mother can sit there and watch a 25-year-old man beat her daughter.
And we hear a lot about these types of stories with the boyfriend and all this shit. I'm so like fed up with it. And I understand why people don't even want to hear about this stuff anymore. But it is happening all the time, every day. And it's not just like a one-time incident. Like some of these incidents you hear in like over months and weeks.
And even if she contributed, if it was Katrina who contributed, how she could lay her hands on her daughter like that. It kills me. If you or anybody know of any abuse, please report it. Report it once, report it twice. We will report her hundreds of times, and nobody did anything. Her parent, her mother failed her. Katrina failed her. Those who witnessed it failed her. Those who said nothing failed Sadie. And I'm hoping from the bottom of my heart that justice will be served Mercedes, and that Jordan will feel loved, and that she will feel safe one day, and that she will gain a family, give her everything that that little girl desired. Thank you all again.
You want to say something? Vanessa, Mom, anybody? No. Vanessa, you want to say something before we release the balloon? No. Y'all ready?
All right. Some of the audio is really bad because, you know, somebody on a phone, so you can't hear. But let me get you guys, I want to show you 2 other clips. And then we'll get started with the details of what happened to Mercedes. By the way, the details are going to be graphic. I'm going to try not to go like so, but it is. I'll give you like a heads up before I mean, they might mention it here. They are going to say some of the details, so just a heads up. There was another child too you probably never heard of, Danilo Coles. I think they were both killed by child abuse in the same week in Texas.
Tonight, a rally to end violence against children. This after 2 gruesome cases of alleged abuse here in San Antonio took the lives of 2 children just this week.
Organizers tell the night team's Lee Waldman enough is enough.
The basketball court turned into a stage for anti-child abuse advocates to make their voices heard at Alforge Park.
These children are not just statistics. They matter. There are children.
This call to action rally comes just days after 2 separate horrific cases of alleged child abuse led to the deaths of 12-year-old Danilo Coles and 5-year-old Mercedes Losoya.
Try that again. 36 seconds.
Tonight, a rise of
Advocate make their voices
Children.
comes just days after 2 separate horrific cases of alleged child abuse led to the deaths of 12-year-old Danilo Coles and 5-year-old Mercedes Losoya.
This isn't just abuse. This was straight up murder.
Hearing about the alleged beatings and treatment of both Danilo and Mercedes inspired her to organize this rally to show the community the winds of change are blowing.
We need to really come back to the table and work smarter on how we're examining our state department, our child welfare system.
In Mercedes' case, SAPD Chief William McManus says both Child Protective Services and his department were involved, yet there was still a failure.
So in both of these cases, which I'm not even going to get into Danilo, I mean, that's probably a whole nother thing, and I think we need to take, I can only do this type of stuff so often, right? Because I'd rather just do the missing persons where we don't know the outcome until maybe we do know. But both cases with this, the police were involved and CPS.
To protect this little girl, leaving him lost on the solution to a heartbreaking problem.
We say enough is enough over and over again, but apparently it just doesn't stop. And I don't know how to change. I don't know how we change people's behavior to make them stop.
Tonight, Mercedes' family held her photos and cried as the community lifted their hands,
Father, as we surround this
praying for the lives ended by violence, praying for the winds to truly bring change.
Horrible, horrible tragedy with that little girl and the little boy prior to her.
One of the biggest messages shared tonight is we all need to step up and help children in need. Don't hesitate to call someone to intervene because it could save a life. At Alforge Park, Lee.
Now, another clip that I want to show you is this is another reason. This is from February, but this is just kind of give you more of an idea of some of the kids over there. This is we're talking about Texas right now.
Deeper after 2 local children allegedly died at the hands of adults who were supposed to love and care for them. What's happening in the background? A child welfare system in San Antonio stressed to the breaking point. News 4 troubleshooter Emily Bauckham shows you how it's functioning now as it tries to rebuild.
Danilo Coles was beaten with a belt, leaving skin hanging off his body. Mercedes Losoya was missing chunks of hair, several toenails, and forced to eat dog feces. Before them, baby James buried under his home, baby King Jay buried in a backpack, and long before them, Diamond Alexander Washington killed by her mother for wetting her bed, Giovanni Ochoa tied to his bunk bed by his grandmother and starved to death. The hard, sad truth is we can only show you their faces because they died. There are thousands more Texas children living in dangerous situations. And when they go into the system, we can't show you their faces. So adults have to be their voices.
Everybody's stretched to their limits, covering care for these children.
Judge Rosie Alvarado helps oversee Bexar County Children's Court. The court's taken on an even bigger role after privatizing the foster system here failed. The state's Department of Family and Protective Services is now back in charge of placing children in homes.
Usually the department's coming in with some temporary fix. We found placement in Spring, Texas, or we found a placement over here and it's a 90-day bed.
And some of them are in hotel rooms right now.
So currently, right now, yes. Some of them are in hotel rooms. Some of them are in rented housing that the department has contracted with. Some are in churches.
To find more permanent homes, judges are reevaluating cases every 2 to 3 weeks, a much more aggressive timeline than the law requires.
What do you need?
What do we need? We need more foster families. We need more foster families that are willing to take on.
Some of these people jacked up too. Look at the West Boys, right? The foster. I mean, there's some really great foster parents, of course, out there, but I'm just saying, even some of these people jacked up too.
Children that are not just basic level of care. We need those that can handle children with higher medical acuity issues, behavioral issues.
As these few courtrooms prop up the system, we turn to the state asking what's next. The Department of Family and Protective Services declined to comment because it's locked in a decade-long lawsuit in which a federal judge has ruled the child welfare system in Texas unconstitutional.
We're in a crisis right now, and it's been that way.
Hank Whitman used to run the department, and what he saw when he rode along with caseworkers.
They just captured my heart, and wondering how brave they are going in these houses.
Whitman convinced state lawmakers to raise caseworkers' salaries. In the short term, it lowered turnover, lowered caseloads. But he says solving the bigger problem of child abuse will take a much larger investment.
And I've pounded the table many times. Until I'm blue in the face, until I've cried. We need prevention money. It could take 2 years, it could take 10 years, 20 years to see the turnaround. But our legislatures need to get out of the thought process of, what do I get tomorrow if I give it to you now?
Whitman says while privatization failed here, another group will eventually finish what the children's shelter started. He says there's no other choice because the department is so underfunded.
But you're putting a strain on an agency that's already strained.
He says what happened in Bexar County ought to be a wake-up call to state lawmakers. They expect private contractors to have emergency housing, handle foster care, offer family counseling. And here's the catch.
They're only funded by the state at 75%.
In an urban area like Bexar County,
they have to raise another $10 million to keep it going. They're actually running almost on the red line constantly. What my message to the legislature is, fund them 100%, and we won't have this problem.
Whitman says if you think he's just trying to throw money at the problem, think about this.
We have our greatest little assets out there, and if we don't take care of them, they're eventually going to make it through another system, probably drugs, prison.
Advocates hope to have a more organized way to find local foster homes in place by later this year. But some children simply cannot wait that long. So if you feel called to help, we have information on how you can get started at news4sa.com. Just look for this story.
Okay, so let me take you through a little bit of Mercedes. There was this good article, I thought. There's a couple of them. This is oddmurdersandmysteries.com. On February 10th, 2022, Katrina Mendoza, 22, and her boyfriend Jose Ruiz, 25, were arrested for the death of Mercedes Losoya, who sustained abuse for several weeks before her death. The abuse took place in Ruiz's home in San Antonio, Texas. Some of the background: on February 7th, 2022, Katrina brought her unresponsive daughter, Mercedes 5, to the hospital. She had extensive bruising and injuries to her body, evident to the hospital staff that she had been extremely Police were called and brought Mendoza in for questioning. Mendoza told police that she had called her boyfriend, Jose Ruiz, to help her with discipline Mercedes. Ruiz picked up Mercedes and brought her back to his house. Mendoza video called Ruiz later that day and saw Mercedes holding a heavy object, crying in the background, according to police reports. Mendoza would let a few days go by before seeing her daughter. Like, who does that shit? Like, right, who? On both sides, right? Like, when she did, Mendoza told police she had cuts in her inner thighs and bruising on her face. This after seeing her after a couple days. Around this time, Mendoza, Mercedes, and an unnamed 6-year-old. Now, if you listen to that clip that I was playing at the beginning, the vigil, I forgot the name they referenced. They're trying to get custody. There was another, I believe, maybe sibling. There's another child that I guess maybe witnessed some of this stuff that was in the home. And so Mendoza, Mercedes, and an unnamed 6-year-old had moved into Ruiz's house. According to Mendoza, the punishment had worsened and turned into abuse, which lasted for 3 weeks before resulting in her death. And this is where it's going to get graphic, so just a heads up. Mendoza told police that she witnessed Ruiz put dog feces in her mouth and he verbally abused her. Ruiz also placed socks soaked with urine in Mercedes' mouth, which he, into Mercedes. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means, okay? Which he yanked out of her mouth, okay, and with enough force, he knocked out 2 of her teeth. Mendoza also said investigators witnessed Ruiz hit Mercedes with a belt in his hands, which were adorned with rings. I mean, just like, how could anybody even watch this shit? How can you even do it? Mercedes' body was covered in bruises and cuts. Several toenails and patches of hair were missing. The 6-year-old unnamed child had told police the same story Mendoza did. So, the mother, though Ruiz denied abusing Mercedes. So the guy's trying to say, no, that's not true. He's saying he stated he only slapped her buttocks, and Mercedes' 6-year-old sister, that's who the family's trying to get custody of now. So they're saying justice for Mercedes, and they want to get the 6-year-old with the family. Mercedes' 6-year-old sister was responsible for the missing hair patches. Though Ruiz denied abusing Mercedes, he stated he only slapped her buttocks, and Mercedes' 6-year-old sister was responsible for the missing hair patches. So he's blaming the child, it seems like, the 6-year-old. Attempts to help, which we're going to actually watch some video clips. There is some clips of the neighbors talking and family talking that they were calling and reporting. It says neighbors who shared a wall with the apartment where the child was killed told news outlets they heard beating sounds for the past weeks. Like, who does that? Like, I just come home, there's just kids getting beat. We're just here. The neighbors called police multiple times to report what they were hearing. They also told news outlets that they say Mendoza kicked the girl in her head, which she also reported to police. The last time they called the police, they did a welfare check, but nobody answered the door. They left. Relatives also told police and CPS about the ongoing child abuse, but were not able to get the child removed from the home. News 4 asked the SAPD about the claims and stated that there was not a record of showing they have responded to any claims of child abuse at the couple's known address. The news outlet added that there have been additional addresses the couple were staying at, and SAPD were looking to see if police had been called to any of those locations. Other news outlets who spoke with the family reported that Mercedes was abused for her entire life. That's what I'm hearing as well. This is not just a recent thing. They're saying her entire life this has been a thing. Just starting weeks before after she was born. Mercedes' great aunt, Emily Losoya, told the news outlet that Mendoza would tell her that she did not feel she had a bond with Mercedes. Mercedes' father told the same news outlet that he had not seen his daughter since October. Mendoza would not let him. So the mother did not feel a bond with Mercedes. Mendoza would tell her. Yeah. So the mother would tell the aunt that she didn't have a bond with her own daughter. And the Mercedes' biological father, because this guy's the boyfriend. So I guess the biological father told the same news outlet he had not seen his daughter since October, that he wasn't allowed to see them. Mendoza and Ruiz were both arrested on Thursday, February 10th, 2022. They're both charged with 1 count of injury to a child, seriously bodily injury. They both They're both due back in court March 15, 2022, which, by the way, I've been, just for the people that have been wondering about trials and stuff like that, I've been kind of keeping track. And we also have a listing on Discord of court dates, trials coming. So we got the Ethan Crumley, March 24th. Megan Boswell, for those that remember that story, September 22, apparently sometime September, she's going back to court. The pre-trial for the parents, James and Jennifer, is March 15. And then this one, this case that we're covering here now, this is March 15. So I don't know if it's going to be the full, if we're going to be able to see it or exactly what's going on with this one, but there's quite a few things coming up. According to court records, Mendoza had a court date May 4, 2022 for driving while intoxicated, which she was arrested for August 22, 2021.
This all started back on February 7th of this year. Our arrested person took her 5-year-old female daughter to a local hospital because she was being unresponsive. That 5-year-old victim was later pronounced deceased at that local hospital with visible injuries. At that time, officers were notified, made location, and began their investigation. Homicide detectives were notified, where they worked tirelessly on this investigation and found evidence to charge the arrested person with 1 count of injury to a child's serious bodily injury. The arrested person's significant other was also believed to have evidence against him, and he was also charged with the same offense as the arrested person. Any questions?
Can you talk about the injuries to this child?
So there's visible injuries. I can't go into specifics of what the injuries were. The cause of death is undetermined at this time until the medical examiner does his investigation. That's when we'll know for sure the cause of death.
You guys have been to the home where this child lived. What kind of evidence can you talk about?
I don't have that information on me right now in front of me, so yeah, I don't have that information. So.
This is her mother, the child's mother.
The arrested person is the child's mother, yes.
Okay. Has she been cooperative? What did she say when you guys talked to her?
I don't have that information. Can't disclose that information more for evidence sake. Unfortunately, this is a really tragic situation. We do have a 5-year-old victim deceased, and it's very, very tragic when you think about it.
Do you anticipate any other arrests?
As of right now, we have 2 arrests already on this incident. I don't foresee another incident or another suspect at this time, but if that does occur, that's something that we will address.
Do you know if Child Protective Services had ever been involved with this family?
That's something that CPS will have to be notified on. That's something y'all can ask them. I don't have that information with me, but that is part of our investigation process, is to see if there's any history on these incidents with this victim, with these parents. So that's something that is investigated, but that's a better question for CPS.
Now, I wanted to show this clip too.
A 5-year-old girl is dead. Tonight, her mother taken into custody and charged with injury to child. The mother's boyfriend was arrested this morning on the same charge. Arrest documents detail weeks of torture and abuse. Eyewitness News reporter Alicia Nieves sat down with family who say the bruises and neglect began shortly after the girl was born.
5-year-old Mercedes Losoya was known for having a big, loving heart.
Very sweet. She loved God. She loved going to church. She loved school. She loved her sissy.
Her father's side of the family says CPS called yesterday, telling them tragedy struck when Mercedes and her sister were in their mother's care.
It's sad to say, but we automatically knew it was something to Mercedes. She had a lot of anger towards Mercedes. I don't know why, but she favored Jordan, and I saw that right off the bat.
For as long as the Losoya.
And so Jordan is the other child, and I don't know. I guess she had issues with her own. I don't know if they're. I guess they're the same father. But apparently there was issues with the other. I don't know. Disconnect.
Losoya family can remember. They say they always noticed injuries on the little girl.
Bruising, bruises, all on her face, her arms, and everything.
They say the abuse and neglect began just weeks after Mercedes was born.
Weeks old. They said she hadn't had a bottle in, 2-3 days?
The Losoyas claim they tried to get custody of Mercedes, but were unsuccessful. Her father told us off camera he last saw his daughters in October. Since then...
Yeah, so there's both of his daughters. So the mother's saying she felt disconnected from Mercedes. They didn't have any kind of connection, and she favored more the other sibling, I guess, Jordan.
He said their mother wouldn't allow him to see the girls.
My son had no part of what happened to my granddaughter.
Arrest documents reveal in disturbing detail the torture and extreme abuse Mercedes went through at the hands of her mother's boyfriend, Jose Ruiz. The document says the girl experienced countless hits to her body. Mercedes' mother brought her to a Southside hospital Monday where she was pronounced dead. Police say her body was swollen and covered in bruises and cuts.
Because I couldn't help her, because he couldn't help her, because we all couldn't help her. That's a better place for her than what she lived the 5 years that she was here on earth.
Family held a vigil tonight to remember Mercedes in hopes justice will prevail in court.
The Department of Family and Protective Services tells us the family has been involved with the department before. Alicia, do we know where Mercedes' older sister is right now?
In this very same system, probably.
Sharon, the 6-year-old, is in foster care. The Losoya family tells us they're fighting for custody, but that process could take approximately 2 months. Live on the Northwest side, Alicia.
A 5-year-old abuse girl was born.
5-year-old Mercedes side of the family says CPS called.
Yeah, we saw that already. So I'm going to read a little bit of this, and then I want to show you the video with the neighbors. This is kind of somewhat of a reiteration, but it has some of the details again here at the top, especially for anybody new that joined. So we know that she took her daughter Mercedes, the mother, to the hospital. Investigators later found that the girl suffered extreme abuse, including missing hair, toenails, bruises, scratches, cuts, and swelling all over her body. I mean, it's just horrible. And supposedly the mother said that the abuse started 3 weeks earlier, though there's other claims saying that this little girl was being abused her entire life. And the mother's saying that, oh, the father did it after she asked the boyfriend, Jose Ruiz, to help with discipline. I don't know why you as a parent are going to ask a boyfriend, a girlfriend to discipline your child. That's just crazy to me. Mendoza claims she witnessed Ruiz get dog feces and force her daughter to in her mouth. Also, socks with urine that was put in her mouth and then yanked out and causing her to lose 2 teeth. He denied the claims, and he said that Mendoza was the only person that actually abused Losoya, and that he only slapped her buttocks and put her in the corner. So they're kind of pointing fingers at each other. He made her keep her arms raised. He also claimed that Losoya's 6-year-old sister ripped out her hair. So, and that's kind of a little bit more clarification on the previous thing. So they're pointing fingers at each other, which doesn't surprise me. And this dude is saying, no, it was the mother and the other 6-year-old girl. Okay. And then according to the news outlet, the 6-year-old sister, Jordan, provided an account that corresponded with what the mother said. So it coincides with the mother's story, which she's not any better at all. An autopsy concluded that Losoya did suffer extreme. In addition to extensive injuries, authorities believe the girl's bruised hands were a result of her trying to defend herself, which is just, meanwhile, the victim's great aunt, Emily, told the news, which we just listened to, that Mendoza favored her other daughter over Losoya. And that abuse began just weeks, when Losoya was weeks old. The Losoyas claim they've been trying to get custody without success. And we're going to take a look at the neighbors right now. Further, neighbors claimed, or they said, that they repeatedly called the police and CPS about the violence that they heard and witnessed. It's just so nuts to me. And this is why, you know how we talked about last night, the UFC fighter, what was his name again? Chain, right? Chain something. We talked about the UFC fighter, and we were talking about vigilante justice and all this kind of stuff, just having a conversation. What's that guy's name? UFC. Oh, Cain Velasquez. And so you hear and have stories like this for weeks, and even claims that it's been going on for years. And I guess we just sit back and keep waiting on the system. And then you have other people that are going to snap. I'm not encouraging violence. I'm just saying you have other people that are going to snap, okay, and do something about it. All right. I mean, just look at this. Every day this is happening. He alleged he first calls authorities on Thanksgiving. Gabriel Granado. We've been hearing beating sounds like a fist hitting the hand for the past 2 weeks. I would say like 50 hits like that, he stated. Granito's fiance reportedly called the police on Saturday, days before Losoya's death. Despite this, the girl was never removed from the home. We did what we could, he says. I lost faith. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, can you really, like, jump down somebody if it was your child is getting abused and whatever, you know what I'm saying? Ruiz and Mendoza are charged with injuries to a child, but they may face additional charges as the criminal investigation is ongoing. And the 6-year-old daughter is currently in foster care. This is from the neighbors now. Can you listen a little bit? I wish we could see the full.
Hearing beating. Sounds like a fist hitting a hand.
Neighbors outraged. New revelations about the abuse a little girl suffered in the days leading up to her death. Plus, why authorities say it was never reported. The troubleshooters investigate.
And migrants found in an 18-wheeler. The charges the driver will be facing and how many people police are looking for tonight.
And Pfizer delays its request to the FDA for vaccines for small children. Why officials say they are waiting till April. But first, we do begin with a developing story we are following for you here on 4. Devastating new details emerging today about the death of 5-year-old Mercedes Losoya.
The little girl died at a San Antonio hospital Monday night. The medical examiner who completed her autopsy says she suffered extreme abuse and torture.
News 4 San Antonio's Jim Lefkoe joining us live with an exclusive report on what neighbors saw and why they are beyond frustrated. Jim.
Robert, this is the Northside apartment complex off Vance Jackson Road where Mercedes last lived. We talked to neighbors today who told us they called the police repeatedly about violence they both heard and saw.
My first report was on November, after Thanksgiving, when we first started hearing incidents. We've been hearing beating, sounds like a fist hitting a hand for the past 2 weeks. I would say more like 50 or 60 hits like that.
Gabriel Granado and his fiancee, Gabriela Iturbe, live next door to Jose Ruiz at the Henry B Apartments. Ruiz is the boyfriend of Katrina Mendoza, Mercedes' mother. Ruiz and Mendoza have been arrested in connection with the girl's violent death. The police say involved beatings and torture.
I called police several times, and I was just, and especially that last time was Saturday morning, and I called the operator and asked, I knew something was a little different this time.
Gabriela says she witnessed a previous incident when Mendoza was physically abusive to her daughter in the apartment parking lot.
She physically kicked her to the side, and of course we called, and it wasn't the only time.
Repeated calls did not result in the child being removed from the home.
We did call the police. We did what we could. We did what we were to report. I lost faith.
The neighbors tell us the abuse escalated in recent days, prompting the final call to the police.
They sent somebody within 15 minutes, but they didn't answer the door, so they didn't do anything.
Isn't that crazy, man? Can they get a record of those calls? I mean, what does the police have to say about that? Isn't that like, you know, I don't know, embarrassing? Like, just, I don't know. What is McManus? What's his name? Whatever that guy's name is, Chief, whatever. We saw the clip earlier.
I cried.
Relatives also tell us today they reached out repeatedly to both the police and Child Protective Services, but were not able to get the agencies to remove the child.
It's really upsetting knowing that you tried and you couldn't do anything to change it.
We reached out to both the police and CPS today to get their response to the complaints from both neighbors and relatives. They didn't respond to our interview request. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you, Jim. It's a question many are now asking. Could this heartbreaking death have been prevented? News 4 troubleshooter Jay Avila continuing our team coverage. He's looking at whether state and local agencies should be held accountable. Jay.
Well, Robert, first of all, we spoke at length with SAPD today on the phone, even checked in with Chief McManus. Different story from them. They searched their dispatch center and have no record they've ever received.
So now they're saying there was no calls that were put out. Damn, I wonder if these people, it would be really interesting. I don't know, man. If any of those neighbors out there, if they have those recorded calls, man, if they just happen to have it, because, you know, you download the app And a lot of them, they'll just automatically record all your calls. Yo, if they have that, drop it. Because how are all these people? It wasn't just the people that we see here now talking. They said they called the cops multiple times, but supposedly there was other neighbors that called the cops multiple times, and now there's no record of any of these calls. And what? And she just made up. Yeah, who's lying? And she just made up this. We came back 15 minutes. Cell phone records. Yes. We should get these people if possible. If they're out there, maybe we can try to contact these two people because their names are there publicly. Maybe I can reach out to them on Facebook or something. But if they just have they can print it out, so we could the reporters should be doing this. Print that shit out, okay, and go back to McManus, okay, and be like, hey, this is the record right here of the calls. Right? Because then these people need to be called out too.
Responded to child abuse reports at the couple's known addresses, and have no record they've ever responded to child abuse reports at the couple's known addresses. But the couple moved around so much, it's unclear right now why there's no record of those calls. Child Protective Services, though, confirms the family was in their system.
CPS told me it has taken the 6-year-old sister into foster care, but cannot comment further on little Mercedes' death until their investigation is further along. That will likely be 30 to 45 days. I requested an interview with Commissioner Jamie Masters, who oversees CPS at the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, but her office did not respond. Her office has presided over a...
So they tried contacting... I like to contact these two people to see if they could maybe, kindly, if they would print it out, and then maybe, or maybe any of the reporters, if they watch. Just curious, how is this stuff just gone? And that's a pretty serious report, right? Like if you're reporting child abuse, I would think that's something that kind of stands out. You can type it in the system, child abuse or whatever it is they type to pull up the calls or the logs.
Troubling trend here in Bexar County. We had 5,641 child abuse victims in 2021.
And you see the increase too? Year after year? It's just Texas.
Increase for the third straight year. Two of the most outspoken leaders on child abuse happen to be running against each other right now for county judge. Former district judge Peter Sakai and former state rep Ina Minjares.
It's heart-wrenching to me because as much as we are trying to do our part to fund the system, to add funding, critical funding to prevention, and then revamp the foster care system, we still aren't meeting the mark.
We can't have caseworkers that are just distressed because of the underpay. We can't have caseworkers that basically are unable to keep up with the load and subsequently have turnover. That is still problematic at Child Protective Services.
Both Minjares and Sakai say state leaders in Austin need to make child welfare a priority. As for SAPD, we'll continue to check in with them and see if they're able to locate why.
Able to locate the... How do you not... That's just crazy. I really would like some sort of answer or explanation to that. Terry, thank you so much for being a member for 14 months. That's amazing. Appreciate it. I have 7 kids. I have 10 grands and 2 more on the way. I just don't understand. Unbelievable evil. iCkEdMeL, love. I'm a huge fan of you. Good job. Thank you, Terry. Appreciate that. Hope you're doing well. Dreadhead, love you, Ick. Hope all is well, Brody. Thank you, man. So sick of these little angels being hurt and taken from this world. Their perpetrators should be on a firing wall. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Charisma, thank you for the super chat as well. I appreciate you your supporting and coming back. So I'm going to leave this article open to see maybe we can, I don't know, if they can pull up the record maybe. Oh. All right, so a lot of this stuff I've kind of already read, so I'm gonna go a little bit past this stuff. It's just more towards the type of abuse that she had. Her legs and feet were also battered, reportedly missing several toenails. The victim's legs were covered in bruises, some of which appeared to be patterned, which is also commonly seen with belts. We've talked about, and I've talked about corporal punishment. This is actually, I mean, obviously the extreme. You know what I'm saying? Some people believe in it. I'm not. I don't do it. I don't need to do it. And I feel like a lot of people have an issue. There's a lot of people already with mental issues, with drug issues, with ego issues. And so they, I don't know, some of you think they're enjoying beating the crap out of their kids. Commonly seen with belts or objects which are used to inflict injury. Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office performed an autopsy on Mercedes and told police that it was obvious that the victim suffered. Per the affidavit, Mercedes' injuries were so numerous that the medical examiner reportedly said there's no clear, obvious injury that caused the victim's death. She was so badly beaten, they couldn't even determine what exactly it was, which one was the cause of death. Further investigation will be required to make a conclusion about the cause and manner. So this stuff we've covered. Over here it says Mendoza reportedly continued with shocking allegations of physical abuse and corporal punishment that included punching the child with closed fists and wearing multiple rings. Covered that. I don't know, man. And so they took the 6-year-old sister out. Incredible,
man. That can be for.
We saw this. Oh yeah, I want to play this for you guys too, real quick. Well, did we see this? I don't think I played this yet.
But first, our top story tonight. We're getting new details from police and family members about the death of 5-year-old Mercedes Losoya.
The little girl's mom.
Yo, corporal punishment. I know it's like a huge. I'm not even interested in getting into the debate. I mean, you guys can talk about it. I've had videos already talked about it. You know, I just. There was one I kind of did some research too, and they were just talking about that it doesn't really benefit at all. It has like no benefit. I just feel like that's the old school way we grew up, and it was done to us, and all our parents had it done to them, kind of thing. It never did anything beneficial to me at all. Nothing. But some people, I've heard people say it has. I've heard some people say that they appreciate it or whatever. For me, it never did anything good for me. Not saying that there can't be rules or discipline or like you take this, you take that, or okay, now you can't be on the phone, you can't watch TV or whatever. But and honest, well, I don't know. I mean, clearly this is the extreme that we're talking about here.
Mother and the mother's boyfriend were both arrested last week in connection.
I agree. I agree too. I feel like it shows that you have no control over your emotions. I think that's what it shows a child too.
5-year-old Mercedes Losoya.
The little girl's mother and the mother's boyfriend were both arrested last week in connection with her death and alleged torture.
News 4 San Antonio's Joe Galley spoke with family members who say they made repeated attempts to save this little girl.
He is also holding our local police and district attorney accountable. Amid accusations, this case fell through the cracks. Joe.
Yeah, according to neighbors that live at this apartment complex, they made multiple calls to police and to Child Protective Services when they heard and they saw evidence of abuse. According to family members, they said they tried to take custody of that little girl multiple times, but each time that little girl ended up going back with her mother.
So the family did try to intervene, according to this article, and neighbors called. Police say they don't got a record. I don't know how they got a record. They don't got a record.
We tried. Everybody tried. Yearly, we have case numbers. We have, messages where we tried to do it the right way. I don't know what else people wanted us to do, kick her butt.
Valerie Rios is Mercedes Losoya's great aunt on her father's side. Rios says the family tried to get custody of the little girl multiple times and repeatedly told police and Child Protective Services about the alleged abuse.
Unfortunately, nothing was ever done.
Today, San Antonio Police Chief William McManus and Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez attended a large press conference on the steps of City Hall. It was about family violence. This was our chance to ask questions about the case.
How can a case like that fall through the cracks?
Well, unfortunately, that happens from time to time, and because it's a pending case, I can't go into any specifics.
Of course you can.
But that's what we're all about, is trying to prevent that kind of atrocity. My heart goes out to that family. Law enforcement cannot be everywhere, and it's hard to prevent certain crime. And we are seeing an increase in, for example, homicides across the country. That's certainly the case in Texas and even in Bexar County. But what we're all trying to do is do everything we can to be proactive.
William McManus tells me the police department is looking into what may have gone wrong in this case.
What's your response to this case possibly falling through the cracks?
Well, that's exactly what we're looking at. We're trying to see where the gaps were, if there were any gaps. We're still in the process of doing that, and once we're done, if there were gaps, we'll address them and hopefully make things better.
McManus added, when police officers respond to these types of calls, many times the officers don't see the same thing as the person who made the report, and officers are limited to what they can do legally.
Damn. That's crazy. I saw some people talking about chancletas. Yeah, I used to, there's a couple of topics we could talk about sometime. We still got to do the ADD one, Adderall one. Damn, I had a couple of things, two separate topics that we could talk. Not stories, just quick stories, but kind of just related with all the horrible things in life. This one just came out today. This is kind of new. Supposedly, there's this grandfather that supposedly sexually assaulted 3 generations in the family, and a judge hands down a life sentence. A Georgia man will spend the rest of his life in prison after sexually assaulting 3 generations of females in his family. Benny Frank Johnson, 66, was sentenced for his convictions of rape, aggravated child, and 2 counts of child. The Cobb County handed down 2 life sentences and an additional 5 years. Isn't it crazy to think about how somebody could keep going on for so long? This is the beginning of breaking generational curses for my family, the victim's mother said during sentencing. Johnson was arrested in Mableton in 2018 after he began assaulting the 8-year-old in 2017. Cobb County District Attorney Flynn said the victim's mother said she had also been assaulted by Johnson when she was a child. And then another witness, identified as the defendant's former stepdaughter, testified that she too had been assaulted. So that today is from Crime Online. I was like, wow. Crazy, huh? Here's another one too, and this one's kind of just this. I was literally almost going to title this "End of Times." The only thing is, with the end of times, we actually have fun. This is not like this is not really one we can. But this was in February. The other one was in February too. The story links. Missouri mom decapitates 6-year-old son dog because devil was attacking. Court docs. I should read that again, but we'll just start with the article here. She decapitated her 6-year-old son. According to KSHB, I wonder where this was at, too. Did it say? Missouri, yeah, I just read that. Tasha Haifs, 35, called police Tuesday night and reported that the devil was trying to attack her. She hung up before providing more information. Kansas City police officers responded to the home, and what they saw looked like blood on the front steps. KY3 reported they could hear a woman sing inside the house, and when they knocked on the door, she sang louder through a window. The officers saw what appeared to be a severed head. Like, bro, like, how can you even, like... I guess, right, clear mental health. Yo, just, and think about the story that we covered yesterday. this stuff is like just almost becoming, it's not normal, but it's becoming and seeming like a normal occurrence, bro. I had never even heard of this story. I had never even heard of Mercedes. I was sitting here. There was another story too that I closed out. I was like, I can't do it. Ethan Mast. What's this guy's name? Mast something. I can't think about this guy. Is it Ethan Mast? That's a whole nother story that I don't know. Maybe some other time, because there's a whole huge 16-page court document. Some other person, I'll say. The officers forced their way into the home via the back door and found the body of a decapitated child just beyond the kitchen. The woman was found with blood on her hands and feet, and the officers found a decapitated dog in the basement. Decapitated the son and the dog.
Yeah, John, they came out and left a memorial outside of the home in memory of the young boy. We also got a hold of the search warrant that shares explicit details of what happened last night.
It's a lot of things, and we all know it, so don't be ashamed to say it. And let's all address the situation to where we can get the help from God.
Mental health and drugs are what Hubert Hawthorne blames for his
You know what the thought I had this morning was when I was going through all these little links and stuff? I was like, eventually there's not going to be any people out there sane. Eventually, these people are going to kill everybody else. Like, there's not going to be anybody left eventually.
Grandson's death. He says the 6-year-old named Corvair is the child found dead inside a Kansas City home Tuesday night. Kansas City police say they got a disturbance call around midnight from a woman claiming the devil was trying to attack her. Officers had to force their way inside the home. There they found Corvair dead. They also saw blood and knives in the home. His mother, 35-year-old Tasha Haves, told police she killed the boy. Police also found a dead dog in the house. The 6-year-old's family came out to the house on Wednesday and set up a memorial in memory of him. Hawthorne says his biggest message during this tragedy is to get help for mental health.
Our grown-ups, we need to stop. These kids are our future.
And prosecutors asked for Haves to be...
Think about that the next time you meet somebody new. Maybe you shouldn't. But it's just kind of telling too, man. You be cautious. You just... I don't know, man. So much insanity. Oh, I wanted to give a quick update about this one too. I saw this. Oh, this was on Discord. Some of these were on Discord. Thanks for the Discord people. I don't know if you guys remember, there were this librarian. For the people that heard of this story, it was pretty insane because some of it was on video. And it says no charges will be filed against the motorist who shot and killed an Orange City librarian in November, according to a review of the evidence from the state attorney's office. I don't know if you guys remember this story. Police say the librarian, Sarah Nicole Morales, intentionally hit the biker with her vehicle, then pointed a gun at him when he followed her home. He pulled out a gun and fired. There was some controversy with this. People were saying, oh, well, he shouldn't have killed her or whatever. The state attorney's office has completed a comprehensive review of the case. The Orange City Police Department concluded that after a thorough investigation, that the suspect would not be charged with a crime. While in fact this case is truly heartbreaking, the law does not authorize filing of any criminal charged. Our sincerest thoughts and prayers with the Morales family. At the time of the incident, investigators said that the motorcyclist, and several witnesses followed her home. So it was a road rage thing. She hits this guy, and he starts and she pulls out a gun, and so he chases her home. And there was a confrontation right in her front yard. After Morales hit the motorcyclist in Volusia, if that's how you say Avenue, following some kind of incident and then took off, the motorcyclist was not seriously hurt. He then followed her along with several witnesses to the hit and run. And one of those witnesses called 911. Police say the motorcyclist and others were trying to get Morales to stop, but she refused. She turned onto East Wisconsin and drove a mile or more to her home with the hit and run victim and several others in pursuit. Is there more? Police say Morales ran inside and came back out with a gun. On the call, you can hear Morales briefly yelling at the motorcyclist and then gunshots. According to police, multiple shots were allegedly fired at Morales by the hit and run motorcycle victim. After he claimed she pointed a gun at him, several witnesses backed that up. Why did he shoot her? The operator asked. Because she pulled out a gun on him. There was some kind of controversy with this whole situation. Whatever, you know. The motorcyclist, having a valid Florida concealed weapons permit, drew his concealed handgun and fired multiple rounds, striking Morales. Morales was transported to the Halifax hospital, where she succumbed to her injuries and was pronounced dead. Morales' handgun was recovered on scene. According to police report, the man told authorities when they arrived, "The girl tried to kill me. She pointed a gun at me." Police say he remained on the scene and cooperated with law enforcement. Detectives are still investigating, but they're treating this case as self-defense. Neither Morales nor the motorcyclist had any previous criminal history. And there was there was release of the 911 call too. It was pretty intense. It was just like a bunch of screaming and just crazy. Florida is always, I'm sure there's many other places too. There's always something crazy going on in traffic. This was just another quick, brief, recent story. Man intentionally runs over 2 children and girlfriend at Florida gas station. This was a couple days ago. A man is facing several charges after authorities said he intentionally ran over his girlfriend and her 2 young daughters Thursday in Volusia County. According to reports, deputies said Nicholas Shaw, 29, got into an argument with his girlfriend on their way home near BP gas station in D-Land. Deputies said the woman was holding her 3-year-old daughter while her 10-year-old daughter was standing by her side. Shaw reportedly yelled, "You're not going to take my son," as the woman tried to pull her infant son out of Shaw's car. That's when Shaw hit the gas, backing into the woman and her 2 girls, hitting them with the open passenger door. Then, let's see here, Shaw then put the car in drive and ran over the 3-year-old before speeding off. What kind of shit is this? Everywhere, every day. The newslet added one of the 2 children suffered scrapes and a possible spinal injury. The woman and the girls are expected to recover, so thankfully nobody's dead. Shaw returned to the scene soon after and was charged with 3 counts of aggravated battery, as well as child neglect and leaving the scene of an accident. Yeah. Crazy. Mercedes Losoya. All right. Somebody said after the effects of COVID. Yeah, Candy. Hey, Candy, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Happy belated birthday. Wait, she took off. He followed her home, then shot her because she pulled a gun on him. Like, why didn't he just get her description, call 911? That's where the controversy was coming from. Thanks, Ozzy. Appreciate that. I live in D-Land, and it's the gas station 1 mile from my house. Damn. Yeah, man, these relationships, man. Oh, my God. Yo, you just don't even want to get involved with people. You have no idea what baggage they're bringing or what kind of craziness or their exes or who's going to try to kill you, who's going to get upset. I mean, the guy yesterday, that wasn't even his woman. Shad? I think it's Shad, right? With Taylor. And the woman strangled him and put the toy in a different place after killing him and decapitated him. And then the mother coming in after. The entire time all this is happening, the mom's sleeping upstairs. And then I guess the woman left and she comes downstairs and she sees a bucket with a towel on it and she takes the towel off and her son's head is in the towel. Crazy, man. Crazy. Like, I sometimes think too, like, I sometimes feel like maybe I miss a relationship. I sometimes miss the feeling. And then other times it's like, damn, I should just enjoy my peace. Appreciate the peace. Because fuck, man, people are just nuts. rough, man. It's really rough. Yeah, if you didn't see that story, I should clip that story. I think I might clip it. I covered it. I covered it yesterday. What happened with yesterday is that let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats. What happened yesterday with that story with Shabusiness, or however you say it, Shabusiness. In that report, the criminal report, you really don't get into the details until like the very end. So I don't think a lot of people stay to the very end. You get to the end of that document, I wasn't expecting that myself. They were into like strangulation. The guy, I guess he pulled out chains and the woman starts strangling him. He starts eventually at one point starts like coughing up blood and stuff. He starts turning blue. She claims she passed out. She was on meth. Then he dies. And after he's deceased, she continues to mess around with him sexually. And that's when she takes this toy and does all these crazy things and then goes to decapitate him. Like his penis, his head, like it goes into detail. It was crazy. Crazy. Singles night. I don't know. What is singles night? Oh, is that where all the singles get together? I've never been to one of those. Singles night. Yeah, no, patience is always best. For real. I jump in pretty fast. Mom let her meth oh God. Jesus. I started reading it and then I was like, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't read that. Yeah, yesterday's live was pretty good. The one, it was decent. Taylor Shabusiness. That one, if you haven't seen it, you can go check it out. I'll put the link if you want to check that out after. That was kind of crazy. And there's a couple of trials coming up, like I said earlier. So soon, I don't know which one we'll be doing. Definitely want to do Ethan, but what I was told, okay, so Ethan is due back March 24th. That is only the 30-day cycle. Every 30 days, because he's in a regular prison and he's underage, every 30 days they have to reevaluate if he can go to like a juvenile place or whatever. So that's happening again March 24th. I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be interesting or it could be boring, but I'll definitely will tune in for that. This Megan Boswell, I've covered this story before. It's kind of crazy. I'll see. It depends what's happening because I have no idea. And then also there's going to be a pre-trial March 15th for James and Jennifer Crumley. The pre-trial, I was talking to Shay today and Shay told me that it's usually not a big thing. So I don't know if it's going to be an all-day thing. She said it's probably not going to be. The pre-trial is basically just, I think the lawyers are going to go back and forth on, I don't know, actually. What is pre-trial? I forgot what it was. Talked about it earlier. And they skipped the arraignment, I heard. Pre-trial describes the time frame between a defendant's arraignment and the start of the actual trial. But I hear I think, skipped the arraignment. During this period, attorneys may file motions such as reducing charges, obtaining additional time, and excluding evidence, to name a few. So I don't know. Could be interesting, could be not, but we'll be here for it. And then this story that we just listened to today, they're doing court March 15th. And I don't know if that's going to be something we can watch or if it's just going to be like the small little clips. So coming up soon, there should be quite a few things that we're going to be streaming and kind of hanging out. And this is the place on Discord for where I'm putting the dates for the trials and stuff. You guys can put it there too, whatever case you want to put in. That's it. What I'm confused about is what's the difference between trial by jury and grand jury? Oh, Lord. Shay could probably explain that, but grand jury. Hold on, let's see. I know the jury has to be like selected, right? But grand jury. Oh, okay. So a trial jury decides a defendant's guilt or innocence with respect to a charged offense. And guilt requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's what yesterday when we were watching the West Boys defense attorneys or whatever, not the West Boys, the adoptive parents, what he was saying is that the grand jury, I guess, found probable cause for the adoptive parents to go to trial, and people were saying, oh, well, that's them saying that it's guilty. And what he was trying to say is that's not what they're saying. He was saying the grand jury, in contrast, only decides if there's probable cause to hold a defendant for trial. And so that it's a less of a standard. And so that them being found that there's probable cause is not a surprise or whatever, but it doesn't mean that they're guilty. That's what he was trying to say. The grand jury decides indictment, I believe. The trial jury decide innocent or guilt. Yeah. So it's just kind of like the next step kind of thing. It's like one of the steps before they go to an actual trial. And so that, I don't know what's going to happen now because of the gag order. But right. Yeah, so grand jury only decides if the case should go to court. Yeah, we're gonna learn together, especially once this trial stuff starts. When we're sitting here 6-7 hours. So yeah, man, I appreciate you guys joining. Sorry about the downer of a topic, especially back to back. And there's sadly there's just so many of them. I mean, I didn't even know about the other boy that happened within the same week. Did you hear the 6-year-old boy who was attacked, who attacked his teacher in Broward? No, she was found on the floor of the classroom. No, I didn't hear about that. There was some teacher recently that I think finally got charged. She was running like an illegal daycare or something like that. Let's see, daycare, Florida. Some lady. Or maybe it's an old story. Not the one that we saw on video where the mother shows up and then the child's locked inside. There was some other lady that I saw just got charged. That's true. When is a topic ever light? Yeah, it is true. I felt like my stomach turning when I was covering this, only because I mean I'm used to covering this stuff, but like when you're feeling off and that's the last stuff you need to read is just horrible shit that's happening to people, it's like, you know. That makes sense. BL grand jury sounds the same as a pre-trial, right? Yeah, it does. Yeah, pre-trial, preliminary trial. Well, the one we watched with the parents, it looks like the judge just decides, I guess, right? Is there actually like peer people in there deciding? Looks like the judge just makes the decision with that. Yeah, the case was about child abuse. It's kind of I mean, on Facebook it's kind of, I guess, blown up. I think maybe, I guess there's just so many things happening at the same time. This is the first time I heard of it today. And this was from February. And I saw somebody say too, maybe she had postpartum. That's sick. BL says preliminary judge decides. Okay, thank you. Donna, yes, soon I'm leaving. Watch me. iCkEdMeL. Can you tell me how to use Discord? If you download the app and you come to the server, you have to make an email address. Once you get on the server, there's some instructions, and I have 2 mods there now to help out with that. So pre-trial is open to public. I think even broadcasted grand jury isn't open to anyone else. Question mark. I have a friend that burns sage. There was somebody that offered to burn sage at my place, but I don't really trust that person. I don't want somebody with bad intentions burning sage at my place. I guess I could do it myself. Yeah, I'll come over and burn sage. No, I'm okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Remember, there was a secret grand jury. Yeah, with the missing West boys. Most are in secret and are witnesses, not as a jury. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to head out of here, man. I appreciate you guys. We'll see what else. I keep saying it. I want to start doing some pre-recorded stuff too if I have time. Just kind of throwing in different stories, seeing what happens. But yeah, take care. Please hit like on the way out. Appreciate it. Peace. Subscribe. Turn the bell notifications. All that good stuff. People have been telling me they're not getting notifications, so make sure you turn them on.